Alright, playing our first game of Survival Chaos on the Void Elves, and it's a doozy, I'll tell you that much. Take a look to our right, we see there's humans. It's a pretty balanced threat, it's not going to really affect my decision. To the left we see dwarves, they're more late game race, so we might go for a late game upgrade. In middle we see Tauren, and immediately the situation is actually pretty good for us because the earliest game race is across from us, so I decide to go for a tier 4 replacement. Binding my hotkeys, just making sure I'm all set up to have a nice game. Check out the buildings, and I see that there's a gold mine to my right. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to save 1,000 gold, and the first thing I do is going to be upgrade that gold mine side. It'll give me 75 gold for capturing the gold mine and effectively count as an income upgrade for as long as I control that gold mine, which is closer to me, so I'll control it for quite a long time. Alright, quiz time. Dwarf is now pushing us in, so what do we want to do here? Save for a 2-2 barracks against him, get our income upgrade, get a unit armor upgrade, or spawn units? How do we want to answer? So armor upgrade I think is definitely the best thing here. We're going to have a wave spawning that's going to be pretty close to hitting as soon as this armor upgrade is going to finish, which is perfect. It'll allow our units to tank a lot more. Also on the right side, if you'll notice, there's actually a pushing wave, so that armor upgrade is also going to help the bottom wave push and can maintain control. It'll also give our units a little bit of longevity mid, but that's less of a priority. It's just picture perfect, always get an armor upgrade there. We decide to follow it up with a income upgrade, which is again just due to the nature of the lanes. We're about to be pushing on the left, and we see that there's a tier 2 barracks on the right, and at the time I have to admit I underestimated this. I figured I'm going to have 2 armor upgrades, and that all his tier 2 barracks is going to do is help build my wave. So I'm thinking about getting another armor upgrade in order to just build it more. I decide, getting a little bit of attack here will help me break the right side a little bit sooner, make the wave a little less volatile when it comes back to me. At this point, we're pushing out in both waves, but we don't have middle control. This is really affecting our income. So, really considering what to do. On the right, I see that humans is actually pushing me, and I'm actually a bit surprised about this. I'm thinking about how to deal with it. It's actually going to be a bit scary. Also, I see that Tauren has been tier 2. I saw it was tier 2 for a little while ago, so I spend his tier 1 spell, trying to handle the wave a little bit, and I upgrade to the tier 2 barracks while the units are hitting my barracks in order to make sure that I drop aggro for a little bit, thus lowering the damage my barracks takes. As I mentioned in my player's handbook, it is something that you should be doing. Since I don't have control of middle, and I'm unlikely to be getting it from Tauren, I'm really considering about when I'm going to get my next unit income, or building armor, whatever. Income upgrade, I should say. So human is hitting, I decide to time it as those melees from the next wave are coming in to get maximum efficiency, hit the back line and the front line at the same time. Have to spawn some units, and at this point I'm feeling like I'm pretty much out of the woods. The middle wave is actually at a point where it's pushing back in. We're going to build up a bit of a wave, so the armor upgrades that I got earlier are actually going to start to play a role. We might actually get some control in there, but it's looking unlikely because Tauren and these humans with the Orb of Lightning are just so early game focused that it just doesn't look possible for me to beat them right now. So I'm optimistic, but cautiously so. Here I see that humans is upgraded to tier 3 on the right, and there's really nothing to do other than just save and upgrade tier 3 on the right. I will admit that I didn't see this in time. I started my magic research and I had to cancel it. It really sucks to cancel research, but when your opponent tier 3s you like this and they're already pushing on you, You really just have to drop what you're doing and answer it. North is about to be pushing in on me again, but it's still tier 1 versus tier 1. So I'm actually just not worried about it. There's nothing I'm going to really do differently here. Not a great wave, so spawning 1 unit to help reduce the amount that our barracks tanks is decent. We don't mind letting the barracks tank a little bit though. The right barracks is taking a lot of damage. I don't really want that, so I decided to do an early tier 1 spell, and now it's quiz time. I have a fair amount of gold. What should I do with it? Should I upgrade one of my barracks? Should I upgrade my fortress? Or should I get unit upgrades? Alright, let me know. Correct answer for me at least is upgrading the fortress. We're actually at a very volatile situation. We don't know if blue is actually going to get tier 4 on us if he's a maniac. And we don't know what Dorf is going to do on the left here. He might actually decide to upgrade to tier 2 against me. Really, the primary concern is that Dorf is going to upgrade tier 2 on me. But the fact that blue can still go tier 4 rush on me means that upgrading our shrine helps with defending both lanes. It gets us the aura, it allows us to start getting research upgrades, so it's just something that I really want to get right here. Taking a look at the auras, I think the lane push upgrade is definitely the best one here. It isn't always beneficial to slow down units' movement speed as they're attacking you. It could potentially build up more waves. I decided to start getting some research from the towers. Extra unit is always a priority, so at this point I'm just focused on trying to set myself up for later in the game. See that Dorf is about to push middle. Seems like he's invested in it. I see that the barracks on the right side in the top lane has been destroyed. And so now he's destroyed. There's a lot I have to actually do here. But I have 4 income, so now I don't have to worry about the fact that a player is dead. Typically when a player dies and loses their fortress as quickly as blue did, you really just can't get income anymore, and you have to focus on making sure that you don't dive through all of the extra gold that's being inflowed into the game. But I already got all my income upgrades, and that's one of the benefits here. I'm in a really good spot. The person counterclockwise to me died. And for those of you who don't know, when the person counterclockwise to you dies, that means middle lane is completely ignorable because your units are going to send over across, and the person who's clockwise to you is going to send their units to the person who's across from you as well. So at this point, I'm feeling amazing. All I have to do in this situation is just spend all my gold on upgrades. As you can see, I'm getting a ton of upgrades. And my units are just going to be stronger than other people's units. And I think this is my path to victory. This tier 3 wave on the right really emphasizes why I told you guys not to upgrade this. It's going to plow through. Humans is actually going to get, because of the AI, a hero and tier 4 barracks. And this tier 3 wave just does not give a fuck. It's been built up so much that there's no way it can be stopped. It's helping me ignore that lane. And it's actually going to plow through to the fucking finish line, as you'll see in a little bit here. So there was really absolutely no need to upgrade this to tier 4. You can argue that it would create a stronger push on yellow, but we actually have no way to know how strong yellow's barracks here is. It could have been tier 4, especially since it took out blue's basically entire base. It wasn't those tier 3. And at this point, I really want to spend mostly gold on research, because this is how I'm going to win the game. Especially with a race as good as Void Elves, which obviously I'm very new to. This is a very straightforward method to getting victory. So Dwarves is now tier 2 against me. I have to match. Better to match as late as possible to make sure that the wave that's being spawned as a tier 2 wave is first coming out as it's defending. The reason for this is if you decide to upgrade your barracks tier early. This is a mistake I see a lot of players make. If you upgrade your barracks tier early before the wave hits you, then you're actually just going to make the wave stronger for your opponent. So it's best to answer it as you're being hit. That's actually very, very important. So I'm starting to get these void upgrades. The important thing here is that I have a tier 4 replacement. Normally the beholder version uses the melee upgrades, which means I don't have to really get the building attack upgrades, but since we have the beholder, which uses the void upgrades, we have to actually start getting some of the void building upgrades as well. But at this point, we're just trying to drown our opponents in research because we are under so little pressure. And this is really the path to power here. Okay, yellow is sending a hero down the long lane. It's going to be a pretty scary wave. I really want to answer it with tier 4 if I can. Red has sent a hero on the left lane. Yet another thing I would love to answer with tier 4, but I might not be able to afford it. We're getting close to a point where I'm trying to just save money. I'm seeing that that barracks on the left is actually pretty weak. I also dealt a significant amount of damage to the barracks on the right for yellow. So at this point, I just really want to put on the pressure in the side lanes. I can keep ignoring middle lane. Neither of these players is breaking through mid, which is perfect for me. We don't want them to break through mid. We want it to be an arms race with no conclusion. The more that it is just that, the further ahead we get because we can spend the gold they're spending on units on just research. The right wave looks more threatening, so I decide to upgrade that waygate first. There's a decent chance I'm actually just going to have to get a hero in both lanes, and I'm kind of thinking about which one. It's going to be a really long lane to level a hero on the right side, so I want to probably get a ranged hero, something that isn't as like, oh shit buttony. And now here comes the hardest moment in the game for me, is I have two waves pushing at me, and at this point I decide to do something that I don't recommend people typically do, and that is to do a tier 2 spell at 28 minutes. And this is exceptional circumstance, obviously. The player on the right has died, creating an exceptionally long lane where a hero went down, and the dwarf player sent out a hero. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I didn't know this at the time, but he sent out two heroes in this wave. His siege hero and his ranged hero, which is really telling me that he's trying to apply some pressure. And he also goes tier 4 on me. So at this point I'm thinking, oh shit, he has tier 4 replacement and two heroes attacking me on the left. I really have to get tier 4 on the left to match it. And at this point it's all about juggling aggro, firing out tier 1 spells, and just making sure that our barracks don't take too much damage by focus firing units. We barely took anything on the right before we bounced that wave back. That wave is terrifying. It's going to beat the shit out of him on the right, especially with the damage I've already done. I'm a little worried about how low my barracks is, kind of thinking about ultimate weapon, but it's a bit early to worry about that. But I will have to get it sometime fairly soon. I managed to fit in the tier 4 barracks. I just have to reapply aggression to the units to make sure that they're not hitting my barracks. Or frankly my towers as long as I have units up. Okay, we countered that. Pushes on both sides, larger than usual than you'd see at this stage. And at this point we have two strong pushes going out. Since the game is pretty much almost over, getting your level 3 meditation shrine is something that you really need to do. This will just ensure that we can keep getting armor upgrades to bolster our pushes, as well as keep getting attack upgrades. It'll also give us access to tier 3 magic, which is crazy good because it's shockwave, and it will also give us access to our special unit in case things really hit the fan. And it was really, really important that I get this actually at this time. We finish this armor upgrade right before this wave hits, which is beautiful, and we see that dwarf spawns a special unit on my lane, which makes sense because our lane is really beating the shit out of him. Doesn't look like we're going to get the barracks on this time. So we finish our ultimate weapon. This is about the earliest time we could be struck by the ultimate weapon, so not super concerned at this point. At this point, I really just want to save money. We broke through yellow's base, so now it's a one-on-one. And really what's going to do it for us in the 1v1 here is the amount of research we've been getting. As long as we don't die to this special unit, which we can just send our own special unit to match, there's really nothing he can do to us. So we spawn special unit, we use a tier 2 spell, and we just spawn a few units to bolster our forces a little bit. There's really not much that this can do to me at this point. It's just the special unit and a melee hero. It's a lot of pressure, but considering we were able to spawn our special unit to match, it's not anything we can't deal with. And I'm really getting the feeling that Dwarves is feeling the pressure at this point. I know Dwarves actually doesn't have a lot of mana, so I'm considering going for the Mana Siphon upgrade. It will just ensure that my opponent never has mana again. And I honestly should have gotten it before I did, but I do eventually get it. At this point, I'm still just thinking about drowning my opponent in upgrades here. He sent 2 incredibly strong waves. At most, he can send his special unit at me one more time before he has to rely on his shitty units to beat me. Seems very unlikely. So let's just get a hero middle to match his hero middle. Oh, never mind, we got a tier 4 barracks. That's a bit greedy, honestly. It's a bit greedy to get tier 4 barracks there instead of a hero. But I guess we managed to make it work. Just unit spawns to bolster the wave. This is a good example of how upgrading a tier of barracks can actually answer very strong waves. We break his bottom barracks and now the game is basically over. It's the shortest lane to our opponents, so him not having it is going to be basically impossible for him to win. He sends Fat Helga down there, but it's his last send on it and it's already down to half health, so really there's nothing much more we can do this game. At this point we just have to close it out by saving enough gold to make sure that we can send our special unit to match. Tusk is hitting us here from the right. This is the AI's last-ditch effort to defend itself in the top lane, because apparently he's still not dead. And Tusk is just gonna die here. I'm considering going Smite. Just to close out the game, I think Smite would be a perfectly reasonable option. But then I think to myself, hey, I can just invest gold and bolster off both of these special units without actually having to send my own special unit, so if I manage to do that, which I am, then he's just screwed. He manages to get my barracks on the left, which he wouldn't have gotten if I decided to go for a special unit, but I did not expect it to die. So now that our opponent doesn't have enough mana to nuke me, we can just mana steal all of his fucking mana. There's not much he can do about it. He's basically lost the game at this point. His special unit is hitting them again. It's going to take out this tower. He can spawn special unit one more time from that top barracks. But this wave in the top lane, as soon as that special unit leaves, if you take a look at it, it's going across the top right now. It's really threatening to just take his base. And at this point, you can just see how much more upgraded our units are. You can also see how it hurt him to be missing so much mana, because I just got to take the rest of his mana. This is the problem with using mana early. It allows your opponent to really cut off your heals, basically. The Void Elf upgrades are insane, though. I really do attribute a lot of this win to just smart tactical play, but the Void Elf upgrades are stronger than they probably should be. Void Form I thought might be a throwaway upgrade, but it's really been exceptionally strong. It reminds me of Zealot Charge from StarCraft 2. And you get to see the final mistake in the game, which is I select both of my barracks and spawn a special unit, which senses out the other to the wrong lane, but doesn't matter. We can't lose this game. We have mana, our opponent doesn't. And that'll do it. Alright guys, how did you do? 200 points, you got the reigning king, and other than that, just don't forget that there's only one difference between a crown prince and a sweaty nerd. Thanks for watching, have a great day.